Hey there, friends. Jeff Fritz here, and I want to talk to you about some next steps I took with the Aspirify.net admin site. I built a little bit of a dashboard so that I could present and share some information about what was on that screen, and I built that with some Progress, Telerik Blazor components, and the Iron Excel export tools. And that's great when I want to share that data, make it available for other folks to see what's going on. But what hit me is that I really wanted a PDF export as well. Now, I could just print and generate a PDF with that, but I'd really like to control the contents of that PDF, generate and run it on the server inside of my .NET Aspire managed website that I built with Blazor. So, let's take some steps to do that. I want to show you how I've added an export as PDF button into the Aspirify.net website. I want to take a few steps to enhance that also, to add some logging, some telemetry and tracing in there so that I can manage and see what's going on a little bit better with those PDF generation resources. Let's head over to the code and take a look. So here I am at the Aspirify.net website that's running locally. It's got a lot of the same content here that I have on the production side, and I can look at some of the data and have a good idea of what's going on and be able to work with it locally. So, if I click into the admin area up here, this is a place that only I can get to right now. I have my dashboard, and we built this previously with these really cool Telerik components that give me some charts, some graphs here that show me some information about what's going on the website. And I added this export as Excel button over here. Well, I just added an export as PDF button that when I click it will generate a PDF of the site, format it a little bit, and make it available right there for me to download and share with other folks. Let me show you how this works using the tools from Iron Software and their IronPDF tool. Here's the code for the dashboard that I built, and you can see it uses a Telerik tile layout with separate components for each one of those graphs that I was showing on the screen. And you can see I have added that export as PDF button right here. And scrolling down further, you can see the method that I wrote that will export the PDF. I wrote a class to manage the PDF generation tools, and I just call into it and say generate PDF for a URL and generate it for this page, the admin page of the website. I also pass through the context in case there's any information that I need to make sure that it can still load and interact with that, because you need to be an admin to access this site. I take the stream that's returned and I use a little bit of JavaScript magic here to pipe it to the browser as a PDF that can be downloaded as a file. Let me show you what's going on inside that PDF generator class over here. So inside of here, I've got a Chrome PDF renderer that starts up and enables some JavaScript, because those components from Telerik, they have a little bit of script that renders and generates the various bar graphs and lines that are painted on screen. I also tell it to print the HTML backgrounds, and if we need to set up any cookies, I can pass in my cookie configuration for the current user right here. I also mentioned that we want to set the CSS media type to print, so it has a print field that we're going to customize. Wait at least 3 seconds just to make sure that all the JavaScript is run and that everything has settled on the page, and use some responsive CSS rendering so it fills the page as much as possible. I then call render URL as PDF, and I pass through that URL that we're going to, and paint it as a stream back to my calling method. Nice. But there's more we could do here to simplify this, right? I do set up my PDF generator right here with a little extension method that I can call from program that sets up everything I need for the PDF generator. But there is more that we need to do here, right? Like, it'd be really great if we had some logging. The running of this PDF generator, when it runs on my web server with this application, it's actually running a version of the Chromium browser to generate the PDFs. Well, I don't really want that browser and that tool generating and doing all of that work on my web server. It's a pretty hefty task to be doing on a web server, and it'd be nice if I could push that off to somewhere else where it could be executed. Well, let's take a look. There's an option available from our friends at Iron Software where we can deploy the IronPDF renderer as a Docker container. So this IronPDF engine runs inside of a container, has all of its browser configuration properly available, and we can send commands over to it for it to execute and return content. Nice. Okay. So let's start adding this into our .NET Aspire managed solution, because Aspirify.net is built with Aspire. It uses a bunch of containers to run and manage the website. So to stand up a container that's out there that will start and handle the PDF generation when it occasionally happens is a pretty regular thing to do in a .NET Aspire managed solution. Let me head back over to my code and let's add the information about the container into our .NET Aspire configuration and start setting up our PDF generation so that it uses that container. All right, so here I am inside the configuration, my app host configuration for the .NET Aspire system, and I've added a PDF engine here as a container, and I'm calling into the official Iron Software IronPDF engine image. Go get me the latest one of those. Yes, please. And we're going to expose an HTTP endpoint on the port that they've specified for this container, 33350. That's great. Easy for me to see and manage there, and I can add that into the solution, and it will work for me. But that endpoint is a little bit weird to manage and push around inside of my code. It's not going to appear like a connection string easily for me to manage. And there might be some other configuration that I want to add later as the IronPDF engine grows and changes and gets more features. So it might be better to break this out and have the IronPDF engine actually load from a resource that will create a custom resource over here. So I wrote this class to manage a resource that's defined as a container. It's a container resource that has a connection string that it will expose. I'm going to have a primary endpoint defined that's named after HTTP. And if SSL is enabled on this instance, we're going to output an HTTPS followed by the host and the port that's defined for this. Otherwise, let's make it an HTTP, so we've got a nicely formatted web address there for our connection string. I've added a set of builder extensions down here to help generate this a little bit easier. So we can add the Iron engine, and it'll create that resource that wraps that container that we're going to set up. We'll add the resource here. We'll define that same image name. It's going to be the latest version of the image, and we're going to pass through whatever port is specified, the endpoint name, the HTTP that we defined earlier. The target port we saw is 33350, and we're going to be exposing an HTTP scheme here. Okay? So that means that our connection is real easy to define right there and just say, I want a PDF engine. And I can pass it as a reference now into my website using a with reference statement there, and I'll get a connection string passed into my website. Let's start adding a little bit more into the PDF generator class so that it can consume and use this new PDF engine that's been exposed. So here, where I have the extensions to add the PDF generator, and this is called inside of Program CS, I'm going to add some references so that it knows how to use that connection string and connect out and interact with it. So there, I'll connect out and I'll use that PDF engine endpoint name that we've defined. We're going to get a remote server. We're going to define and hook that up to our connection here. And we're going to tell IronPDF to connect to that IronPDF host using that connection string, that location that we just specified. All right. That's a good start. Let's try running this again and see how it works inside of our application. All right, so here's the .NET Aspire dashboard, and check it out right there. I have a container for the PDF engine, and it's running that Iron Software PDF engine image, and I can see exactly where its endpoint is. Localhost 52307. Remember, in .NET Aspire, when running locally, it remaps and finds some random ports to connect to. But underneath of that, it's rerouting that. It's connected it to the port 33350 for us. And if I scroll down here to the web project and we look at the details of that, we can see that there's a connection string that's set up going to that PDF engine endpoint 52307. Terrific. Let's head back over to the admin page, the dashboard, so that we can try to regenerate our PDF export. All right, and there it is. I've got my PDF rendered again. Good. Easy for me to do, all hooked up, and now it's rendering and coming out of the PDF generator, the PDF engine container that we've already specified. Let's go over and take a look at that. So when I look here in the console at the generation of it, it's kind of in here, I guess. Like I can see there where it generated and requested the website again, but I guess it ran? I don't know. Let's start adding some logging to this so that we can see it a little bit clearer, because we have this structured log over here as well, and we'll be able to see a little bit of what's going on. I just see request response. So let's update our little client that we wrapped around this, and we'll start adding some logging to that. So back over here in Visual Studio, I'm going to go up to my primary constructor here, and let's just add an iLogger of type PDF generator, and I'll just call it logger. And inside my generate method here, I'll add a stopwatch. I'll also add some logger information to show that it's beginning rendering. Down here, when we catch, if there's an error, let's report that, let's log it. And of course, right before we do the return down here, let's indicate that we completed rendering. Now, that's nice. Let's take a look. And now looking at my logs there, look at that, completed render. I can see a statement there on the console that's being mirrored. If I look at the structured logs, I can see the completed render statement right there. Okay, that's not bad. I mean, I can see that information now, and I can find it. I can even filter for it and find those statements, but we can do better. .NET Aspire ships with something called OpenTelemetry, and that's what's generating some of these distributed traces that you see that we can click into and see some very interesting presentations of how our data is interacted with. That's pretty cool, but how do we write our own information into here, right? If I want to go into this a little bit and actually generate and show some more information about what's going on, like I can see there it's calling out to PDF Engine and how long each one of these steps took. What if I want to add that this was being done by my PDF generator and start adding some additional information to that, so that not only do we get tracing like this, but we also get some metrics reported as well, so that we can see how long the actual render takes and be able to watch and count how many times the process actually executes. This is real easy to do with the new features that were added as part of .NET Aspire to make it easy to access OpenTelemetry. Let's head back over to the code and we'll start adding in some information to help enable tracing and metrics. So all the libraries to use OpenTelemetry are already referenced by this project. It comes with ASP.NET Core by default, starting with .NET 8, .NET 7. So let's add some fields in here to define an activity and allow us to capture information about it. So I have an activity source name called a PDF generator. Makes sense, name it after this class that's doing this work. I'll create an activity source, that's a static object that will collect and report all of these activities that are generated from this class. And down here where I started that logger, let's add an activity. Let's start an activity on this client, and we'll add an activity tag collection that says this is the URL that we're rendering, and we'll specify it here. By using the using statement here and making this disposable, when this code block goes out of scope, it'll automatically dispose that activity, complete it, and return the log appropriately to the OpenTelemetry exporter. So down here in the catch, when there's an error, we were logging an error with this error rendering statement. I'll add a set status here to indicate that this activity has an error in it, and I'll output the message from the exception right there. Finally, we need to add information into the extensions to configure OpenTelemetry. So I'll go down here, and after we set up our services, I'll add OpenTelemetry for the PDF generator right there. So we're adding tracing, and we're going to specify that we're adding a new source, and it's the activity source name that's in our PDF generator class. Let's give this a try and see what it looks like now inside of our logs. And let's go back over and take a look at our logs. I'll go into the structured logs over here, and I still see the same log entries that I had before. There's the completed render and a time that it completed in. But if we go over to the traces, I can start to see some more information. So up here where it actually made the call when we click through, now we can see the generate PDF for URL call right there, and we can view the details of everything that happened in there in this nice grouping that shows this was the method that was called inside of our PDF generator class. We can check out all kinds of tags and information that we attach to this. We've added the URL that was rendered, and we can see it right there inside of our log. Fantastic. It's a great start, and it shows me the time that it took to complete this. That's a good start, but I want to actually generate some metrics around this and start to show a meter over here, just like we have for some of our ASP.NET items, that shows how long the PDF engine is running, how many calls we have that go into it, so that we can look at and have some numbers, some gauges that'll help us with performance tuning in the future. This is just another OpenTelemetry endpoint that we can configure and features around it. So let's head back over to the code and add that meter that'll show up here in our metrics tab. All right, so just like before, where I have an activity source, I'm going to define now a meter that I'm going to call meter because it's the only one that's running inside of this. That meter is going to collect and generate several different items. I'm going to start with just a histogram here, right? A histogram is that time forward looking graph that shows us the performance of things over time. I just call mine counter, and I gave it a name of PDF generator.generate PDF. It's going to measure a duration in seconds, and it's going to talk about the PDFs that are generated. So one thing to note, the names of these meters that we create are typically lowercase. They have a dot notation to separate a noun and then the name of the actual metric that's being captured. I'll continue over here and we'll go to the bottom when things are completed, way down here. After we've completed the render, if the counter is enabled, record a value, the total number of seconds that it took to render this, and we captured that in our stopwatch there. And I'll add a dictionary of tags. I'll include the URL and whatever URL was requested to be rendered. So we get this nice tag that we can use for filtering in the future if we want to take a look and see how many times things are rendered for different types of URLs throughout the website as we roll out this feature to other pages. Just like we added the OpenTelemetry extensions down here to configure the service locator so that it knows that there's new features to add, we need to also include an entry for the meter to be included as well. So I'll use with metrics here. And we'll just say metrics, add meter, PDF generator, meter name. There we go. Let's give this a shot and see if we can start generating some graphs inside of our Aspire dashboard. All right, I've generated a PDF. I can see in my structured logs, there's the render, and it completed in about 6.7 seconds. But now if I go over to metrics and I scroll down here, I've got a new PDF generator category. And if I click into that, now I get a graph that shows me how long that process took. And there's an exemplar here that is that exact number, 6.7 seconds that it took to execute, and exactly when it was executed. And I have the ability to filter on the admin URL if I wanted to only view those renderings for that address. Maybe there's something that's taking a long time for that page to render as a PDF that I want to tune in the future. I have that option as I go through and work with this. So let's render it again. And as that's executing, we'll see that a PDF opens. And there's our next metric. And it's a little bit faster executing it now. Interesting. I can also turn this graph and show just the count, the number of times that the generator was called. And it's just recording those with the time as a vertical axis here in seconds. Not bad. Pretty easy to do, to add these features, to take what was just a simple, hey, export this data capability and give me the insight to be able to see logs and metrics reporting from it in a nice simple class that's orchestrated and running with an engine that's acting like a little report server that spins up with Docker that I can now use with one line of code. Really great stuff. I'm really happy to see how easy it was to plug in IronPDF with .NET Aspire and still take advantage of all those great features without having to make my website run all the complex things that the IronPDF tools use to generate PDFs. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you check out the content from our friends at Iron Software. They've got great features out there, capability of running with Docker. There's other tools that they have available. It runs for C#, it runs for Java, it runs for Python. Check it out. They've got some really cool stuff there. They've got really great folks that work in their support department who can get back to you quickly and even get you connected with an engineer that can help solve your problems. Big thanks to the folks at Iron Software for helping out with building this demo. If you like this demo and you like some of the other content that we've been building and reporting here on the channel, click that subscribe button, click the notification bell. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If there's other tools and things that you'd like to see me stitch together and show how different things work together, happy to pull that together and give you some demos. I've got source code for this, some source code samples linked just below in the description so you can learn more about how we used IronPDF with .NET Aspire and Blazor. Thanks so much for watching.